Someone who is considered a visionary and who has placed India on the global map for leading edge engineering research and development services. I'm speaking about Dr. PVR Mohan Reddy, and it's time to invite him onto the stage for his keynote session. Dr. Reddy, having established Cyient, formerly Infotech Enterprises, in 1991, pioneered the computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, that is CAD/CAM solutions serving international clients. The American Society of Mechanical Engineers, CIE division, conferred the Distinguished Leadership Award on Mohan Reddy in 2011, making him the first Indian and the 7th recipient globally to receive the industry's most prestigious global award for engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to listen up to Dr. Mohan Reddy.
Good morning to all of you. Or do we say good afternoon to all of you? I think it's just a few minutes past 12 o'clock. First, let me at the outset congratulate IESA for taking this initiative in having an event which is centered around the caption that you have is all about addressing this big gap that we have in electronic design industry. What I'm planning to do is spend next half an hour in getting a few thoughts of mine to you, and then if time permits, I'll be more than happy to take a few questions from you from the audience. The first and the foremost is, as you see from, I'm sorry if this seems to be a little more text than I like it to be, but primarily the challenge that we have in front of us today is that by 2020, the ESDM industry demand would be somewhere in the range of $40 billion. And the current projections are business as usual. If we continue to do what we're doing, the domestic industry will not scale anything beyond about $100 billion, give or take a few billion dollars. They're saying it probably would be $104 billion. So effectively, by 2020, we will have an enormous amount of pressure on Indian exchequer to see that we can fund another $300 billion of imports. One way the government seemed to know this problem as much as any one of us here, or a little more than any one of us, and seem to think the way in which they can address this is to run this campaign called Make in India. We'll make everything in India is what they're saying. But I honestly believe it is much beyond Make in India. So therefore, I captioned my talk as just not Make in India today, but creating an ecosystem for a vibrant ESDM industry. And certainly what we need to have as an ESDM industry as we move forward is not what was the ESDM industry of the past, but it has to be the next generation ESDM industry. It has to be far, far different from what it has been so far. And why do I think that it's possible, or why do I have an aspiration that it has to be a next generation ESDM industry, is because today technology has become all pervasive, technology is all over the place, and as a result it is feasible today to make sure that we could build the next generation ESDM industry in India. So if you look at the chart that's there, again my apologies if you're not in a position to read it too well. Certainly what we believe is that there are a number of challenges in terms of doing electronics, whether it is innovation, it is to do with design and engineering, or manufacturing, or supporting them in India. And it primarily is driven by The first and the foremost is the attractive sector economics. Actually, this slide shows that the cost of doing cost disadvantage in India is somewhere between 6 to 8%. But last night that I was having a chat with my good friend Manjunatha Hebbar, and Manjunatha sent me a report and which came from E&Y. Actually, they talk about a sectorial disadvantage of anywhere between 6 to 26%. So it is exorbitantly expensive to do this manufacture in the state in which we are as a nation. It is a combination of number of things. It could be duty, it could be manufacturing inefficiencies that we have, not having the proper supply chain, not having the certification, innumerable number of them, not having the right brand name, all of it. All of it cascades into a number that this country would have a disadvantage of anywhere between 6 to 26%. And certainly, lot of effort being put in by the government at this point of time to improve the ease of doing business. But we're told that we have climbed only about 4 notches from what we were the previous year. Hopefully this year we'll see some more changes that will happen. But all the same, the government continues to have challenges. We were all together at an event hosted by DEIPP, which is the Department of Industrial Promotion and Procurement, and DIPP did a startup event a couple of weeks back in New Delhi, and they talked about certainly saying that companies can also exit fairly easily, and that is a law which is stuck in the parliament right now. The Prime Minister himself made an announcement that there's a bankruptcy law 2015. We have now introduced it, but so long as it's not enacted, it doesn't mean anything to us. So therefore, the challenge we have, the second challenge is ease of doing business continues to be a big challenge for us. And the other third one is that we also have a very poor component manufacturing ecosystem for us. So we need to import components, and as a consequence of that, the cost, the time, and the availability becomes a challenge. As I said, supply chain is a big challenge for us. So not having the component manufacturing ecosystem, and the fourth one I have is very limited innovation. We'll talk about it a little more as we move forward. Innovation to me has to become a part and parcel of our culture. We need to start thinking about innovation as straight from our school days. How does that come in? That is one of the other limitations we have. And finally, some of you may agree, may not agree with me, but I think, we don't have an industry-ready talent at this point of time. The talent is there. Certain percentages talent is readily usable by the industry, but a substantial part of it is not industry-ready. We certainly believe that we also need to bring in a culture of making culture within the academic institution itself. The students have to think about, how do I make a new product? It's not just saying that, I can recant, put the same old wine into a new bottle and say I finished my project report and I get my degree. But then what is it good to him or to anybody for that matter? After having spent, say, 1.5 years as an MTech program, you've seen a number of MTech thesis papers. Very poor in quality. And that is, I think, largely because it's driven by this mindset which says, I need to finish the program, as opposed to, I need to learn. So therefore, the sum total of it is that what we are finding today is we have challenges from a number of areas. So therefore, by just saying that all these areas can be addressed by making one statement called Make in India will not solve the problem. So I have a 4-stage process, which I believe is something which is essential. And the first one is that we need to innovate in India. And this innovation, why do we require at this point of time so importantly, is that it also is an opportunity that is coming our way because of technology disruption. technology has not been so disruptive since we know in mankind. The changes are extremely rapid. Everything that we think about today as the best is not the best tomorrow. There's something more happening tomorrow. That gives definitely a challenge to existing players, but gives an opportunity for new players to come in with new devices, new solutions. So therefore, I think why do we need to innovate is because there's an opportunity out there. The second one is that today in India, with the 1.1 or 1.2 billion people that are there, we have to definitely make sure we have an inclusive society. We have to bring all the people who are out of the middle class system into the system who will have the basic amenities to them. While I think to a certain extent we can always address saying that we have had food, shelter, clothing, but health, hygiene, education, these are still big question marks in front of them. So if we want to bring inclusiveness to the people who are outside us, one way of making sure that happens is we need to bring in more amount of innovation to ensure that there is social needs of the larger public are met. The third one is that innovation is required because we all have margin pressures right now. And added to that, we also have a big middle class which is burgeoning. You look at the number of cell phones that are there in this country. I believe you have seen in an article somewhere which says in India is only one nation where per person there's 1.5 cell phones. People don't have just the luxury of carrying one with them, but they have twos, and I've even seen people with 3 cell phones. Incoming calls, outgoing calls, it says a different plan, different location. It's probably a prestige symbol for some of them. But the fact is, they're affording it. So affordability is going up with the middle class. And definitely that middle class, if we had to cater to them, otherwise what would happen is, the $40 billion demand that we're talking about will shrink. Because with the rupee depreciating at pace at which it's depreciating, the affordability in terms of buying those products will come down. So obviously, which means that the demand itself for that the electronic products will come down. So therefore, we need to innovate to address the middle class requirement. And finally, there is also a large number of Indian population who are not accessing the good things that are happening because of technology. Number of products are inaccessible to them. They're outside the so-called consumer that we have. Take the example of an ECG machine. An ECG machine which is made by some of the well-known best players at $100,000 today. Means it's about $200 it will mean to take one ECG for each patient. Cost is not affordable. More importantly, you can't take this machine to a small village which is say 200 kilometers away from Bangalore. Or even if you take it there in a bus and make sure that there is it can still be operated, do we have power there on a continual basis to operate the machine? Or thereafter, do we find enough technicians to stay back with that machine to operate it? So therefore, there have to be ways and means by which we need to innovate to ensure that we can bring the non-consumers today into the fold of consumers. Then I'll talk the contra of what I said earlier, not the $400 billion. There's a possibility it can be even higher than the $400 billion in terms of demand. So what do we need to do if we want to innovate is that we need to bring in this culture of innovation in this country. Today, I mean, we can go ahead and start becoming defensive and blame many people around, saying that our society itself is not innovation driven. We're a very conservative society. People don't allow us to take risks. Risk-taking ability is very low. But the fact is, only when you do these, question the status quo, start taking risks, work as teams, become open, only then the innovation will come in. And these are not rocket sciences. These are something that we can do right from our schools. So innovation has to be a culture. And then the second one is that these innovations, if they have to become larger, we need to make some of these centers of excellence with emerging technologies. I would definitely confess that there are some initiatives that are happening in this area. For example, you look at what we recently launched from NASSCOM, DIETI, that's Department of Electronics and Information Technology, is a center of excellence for IoT in Bangalore. We need to get some of those centers of excellence in place if innovation has to happen. If you have an idea, that idea has to get into a mode where you can say that it's now in a mode which can be implemented thereafter. And a third one, which is extremely important, is that we need to get into this culture of startups. Because it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity which has not been there in the past. Technology provides you those opportunities, the ecosystem provides. There's a demand for a product, product's not available, technology says, I'm here to help you. So it's basically ability for people to take those risks and make sure that they become a part of an entrepreneurial ecosystem will make the difference in terms of how we can innovate in this country. And finally, we definitely we require more amount of intellectual property. Today, the type of protection that we have on intellectual property is very limited, but as a nation, we need to build that. So therefore, if you look at the whole canvas that I have in front of me, there is very less of innovation happening, but this is a doable proposition. So it is academic institutions, it's the corporate, it's the government, all of them. I gave you an example of government in the past. Or we have yet another example. In Hyderabad, there's something called the T-Hub. The Telangana government put in 40 crores to build an incubation centers, primarily to promote more amount of entrepreneurship and startup culture. Or a company like mine, Cyient, we have a corporate incubator. We basically have a corporate incubator with IoT. So these are the initiatives that have to happen from academia, government, corporate, and so on and so forth in order to ensure we have more amount of innovation in this country. Once the innovation is done, I'll let me move on to the second one, is creating products. I think certainly this is one area where India has tremendous amount of strength. I don't know how many of you are familiar, the design and engineering services, ER&D as it's called, engineering research and development as it's called, in the subset that we create at NASSCOM, is a $20 billion industry in India so far. And I'm sure all of you are familiar that I believe the statistic I have with me is last year there was as many as 2,000 chips which were designed by Indian companies for their customers abroad. There are at least 20,000 semiconductor engineers in this country who have independent capability to go ahead and design chips. So therefore, I think why do we require to design and engineer? We have the capability. The second one is that if we want to make in India a success, we need to design in India. Otherwise, what would happen is there will be definitely what, pardon me, but I'll still use that word, was known in this country in the 1970s and 1980s as screwdriver technology. It was all that at that point of time, government did not allow anything to be imported. Everything had a duty. A personal computer had a 160% duty in 1970s or 1980s. PCs came more popular in 1982 onwards. But then the other things, which was mainframes or mini computers, had that amount of duty with them. And they said, if at all you want to do it, make in India. And what was make in India at that point of time was certainly, yes, there were, I know instances where it was more expensive to import components compared to importing a completely assembled system. Completely assembled manufactured system was cheaper compared to getting components into India. So the result is that we definitely require, if the Make in India has to happen, we need to make sure that we design in India. I think to a certain extent, this is being heard, and I feel very delighted that nobody other than the Prime Minister himself has been talking in the recent past, design in India, make in India. And why we need to do is that our technology absorption has to be much higher. If you just say make in India, I think we'll just be doing very peripheral work, very low value add that we would do. Whereas if we truly can design in India, technology absorption also can be possible. So what do we need to do to make in India? I think certainly the infrastructure has to improve. That's the first and the foremost. infrastructure in terms of the connectivity on the roads, in terms of making sure we have the right power, the right infrastructure, is something which is essential to make sure that we have the Make in India going. And we need also to have a government-driven R&D, because given that the brand image for India is not that high, the only way that you could do is have a strong domestic market, and that domestic market has to couple with R&D being supported by government. A number of incentives being provided by the government at this point of time, but I think we need a lot more to make sure that more amount of design capability comes into India. And we also need to get more amount of industry focus. If you look at that $300 billion or $400 billion demand that we have for electronic devices, there are just about 4 sectors which I think will show up as the major industries which have that demand. It's automobile, it is your consumer electronics, it is telecommunication, and it's industrial products. So if we can drive ourselves to say these are the 4, leave some of those things where you can't probably go ahead and attempt to do that. With a focus, we could definitely do more amount of manufacturing in India. And certainly in design in India, we also need ability to go ahead and get them prototyped and certified. We have very limited prototyping capabilities in India. We also have limited certifications. We should start now thinking about having our own certification agencies, making sure those prototypes could be done. My third point is, then I just go to the make part, the manufacturing part of it. And why do we require to do? Certainly I think this is a no-brainer. The import bill is increasing, and consequence of that is the rupee is depreciating, so therefore there are fairly large amount of challenges associated with it. The next one is that we also have an imperative need of job creation. We put 1 million people in the age group of 18 to 25 every month into the streets of India. We put 10 million of them every year. For next 10 years, we'll put 100 million of them. And certainly, I'm not saying manufacturing will go and absorb all these people, but manufacturing could be one possibility which will definitely absorb these people. So therefore, in addition to the import bill, you also have this challenge of making sure that we create enough employment. And the third one is that we need to be a nation which is self-reliant. Look at China, what they have done over the last 20 years. They become a lot more self-reliant than any other nation in the world. And that certainly provides great amount of security for the nation. So therefore, Make in India becomes imperative, not only because of many other reasons I said, but also, we want to make sure the import bill is taken care of, more amount of jobs are created, and we have security for us. So what do we need to do if we're to make in India? The manufacturing has to come by. Is we need to have definitely the infrastructure we talked about, but more importantly, we need to definitely get to ease of doing business has to improve. Even now, for a company to get started, people are telling us that it takes anywhere between 3 months to 5 months. The recommendation that we made to government was just single portal, self-certification. Some of them have been heard. I'm sure the startup event that we did 2 weeks back, I mentioned earlier, at least 8 recommendations of NASSCOM, or I'm sure IESA, or the similar recommendations too, they've got implemented. But that is not enough according to us. Lot more required to be done to make sure that we have more of Make in India to happen, more amount of entrepreneurship to come by. And equally important is, we should not be doing things which have been done the way in which the past has been. We need to look at what is next. We will talk about Industry 4.0, and that's the way in which we need to go. If we say that we'll just go ahead and put warm bodies behind manufacturing, we will never be competing globally. And that will be a challenge that we'll have. Unless you build a industry which is globally competitive, it will not last forever. So therefore, I think it is important that we pay enough attention to technology, pay enough attention to automation, new things that are coming in, whether it's sensors, Industry 4.0, it's all about automation, sensors, and so on and so forth. So as they keep calling it as, it's customized mass production. That's what the next is. And as a consequence of that, I don't think we require to build those large, huge factories either. You'll find the factories will become smaller, miniaturized, because you also have yet another new technology coming called the 3D printing. So combine them together. So therefore, if we build manufacturing capability in this nation, we should not go backwards in terms of saying we did what other people did. We have to definitely think in terms of newer ways of doing it more efficiently. The fourth leg I have, the 4 pillars that I keep talking about, is support. Not many people recognize that products require support after they're sold. I'm not looking at consumer products, but you look at any other things like telecom equipment. You look at equipment which is like industrial products. So therefore, if you don't have enough of support associated with it, the product would never be sold. There's a very traditional example that we used to talk about many years back. Was at one point of time, there used to be this car called Ambassador. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that car. It still is in the roads of India. An outstanding product called the Maruti came in. In every parameter, it was far superior. But still, it was not in a position to capture the market. And the reason was that they had very poor aftermarket support. Till they realized that and went ahead and created this support centers across the width and the breadth of the country, they were not successful. Therefore, support becomes extremely important for companies to be successful. And certainly, what we are also seeing is, in many instances, companies in industrial products don't make money by selling the product, but they make money thereafter in terms of supporting the product. That's where the money is. So the result is that we need to also focus on making sure that we have a good support ecosystem. And certainly, how we were going to do this is that on one side we say we need to have R&D, we need to have entrepreneurship, etc. So I'm not contradicting myself. But to start with global partnerships is one way of going forward. Nobody other than the Ministry of Defense, the part of the new offset policy, is now talking about transfer of technology into India, absorption by India. So therefore, people would not just transfer technology like that. It had to be technology which can be absorbed, which is relevant to this country, and it had to be in partnership. So we certainly believe that we will have more amount of global partners who will come in with us. So that could be another potential opportunity, because we need to ensure that these products are supported through their lifetime. And finally, we also need to have more amount of skilled resources. We keep saying that, look, we have challenge with jobs. On the other side, we also believe that there is a tremendous amount of skill set mismatch. And that's how the skill development is happening today. Skills not necessarily mean these are BTechs and MTechs and PhDs. We need to have those electricians, we need to have those soldering people. We need to have the assembly operators. We need to see how these people can perform now in the new environment of Industry 4.0. So those skills are very important. So therefore, if you look at the new industry that we need to build, the new ESDM industry that we build, we certainly require to have these 4 attributes. You need to innovate, you need to design, you need to make, and you need to support. Well, please don't mistake me, but I need to bring my company into perspective. I run this company called Cyient as I'm the founder, the executive chairman. We strongly believe in this. Where were we, say, 24 months to 36 months back? We were purely a company which did design and engineering. That is the second block. What are we doing today in the last 24 months to 36 months? We now plugged other 3 blocks. We have an innovation center. We are investing quite a bit of money on new technologies. We went ahead and bought a manufacturing facility. Our belief is that our ability to design gave us a right to get into right to play in manufacturing. We have a manufacturing facility in Mysore, and we went and bought an aftermarket support services company for aircraft engines, including the electronics part, in Singapore. So therefore, I think the way forward is for companies also to look at all these 4 so that you are a full-fledged company. In conclusion, what I will say is that we need to create an ecosystem which was not what it was in the past, but an ecosystem which is different from the past, taking into consideration that we are in a different generation. So what we need to do is to create a next generation ecosystem. We also need to have a strong partnership between industry, academia, and the corporate world. Only then will we find the right type of combination. And certainly, we need to focus on cutting-edge technologies. As I started my few remarks by talking about how technology is changing, I'm a very strong believer in that. I'm so passionate about it. I keep every opportunity I get to talk about it. Technology is now going to be the driver. It can change the face of this nation. We can get those technologies. It provides entrepreneurial opportunities. You can innovate with new products, make the next generation manufacturing plants, which is micro-miniaturized, support them, and we have a good story. So thank you very much for listening to me this morning. And I'm sure that there's a great opportunity for all of you who are in the audience, whether you're running companies, you work for companies, but you're entrepreneurs within your entrepreneurial organizations, or you intend to become an entrepreneur. I think there is tremendous opportunity in this ESDM, but make sure we all create that ecosystem. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Just one or two of them. If there are not any, thank you very much again. Thank you.
Much ground covered. The need to innovate, design, make, and support to take cognizance of Industry 4.0 and how to create that ecosystem. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohan Reddy. I request Venki to please step up on stage and give Dr. Reddy a token of gratitude, a memento. Mr. Venkatesh Kumar, that is, VP Operations and on the IESE Council. Thank you, and for those who do not know, Dr. Reddy is also the chairman of